Welcome back to MovingProfessional.com. Today I want to go over a warm-up. So I'm going to use the bands and also use some balls and rollers for some soft tissue work. But I want to put it into a before workout warm-up context. So normally, if I'm just doing mobility work and I'm just going to be spending some time focusing purely on mobility, I want to spend at least 2 minutes on each area. However, that's not necessarily appropriate for a warm-up for time purposes, but also you don't want to slow the body down too much. And when you spend about 2 minutes on each area, one of the benefits is that you actually can calm the nervous system down. We don't necessarily want to do that before we're getting into especially high intensity workouts. So we want to be able to first got to be familiar with some of these mobility movements, and then we want to be able to put some active motion into it, so it's kind of like a combination of dynamic stretching mixed with just some specific mobility work to get you in a better position. So I'm going to start with the shoulders, and I'm going to use one of these bands here. And depending on the workout that you're doing, so I'm going to use an example of a workout that I just had a client do where we did farmer carries. So basically farmer carries are just going to be, what position do I have to be in for a good farmer carry? I have to have the shoulders organized back into the socket and still maintaining a neutral pelvis. Alright, so I want to be working on just initially getting the shoulder back and not forward. Alright, that's pretty much a standard for anything where the upper extremity is involved, is that you want that shoulder to be back in the socket, and most people are going to be predisposed to having the humerus forward because working on computers or just sitting doing anything in front of the body. And then kettlebell swings was another movement, so we need to be able to get this good hip hinge. I have to be open in the hip to be able to get my hip back without having to round through here. Alright? And I got to be able to be strong and solid again, coming back to a pelvic neutral position when I stand up. Alright? Then we're going back to farmer carries and then clean and press. So with the kettlebell, it's going to be a clean. So again, we need that same hip motion of the swing, but when we're doing a press, now we need to again keep the shoulder back and organized and be able to get it overhead, creating full external rotation at the top, thumb back. Alright, so we just need a good overhead position. We need to make sure that that's balanced side to side. Alright, so we have to have that range of motion. Alright, if you can't get up there, if your overhead position's here, then you shouldn't be doing weight overhead. Alright, so it may be a little stiff and we need to loosen it up so you can get the ear to disappear when you have your arm up and the rest of your body being in a good position. So some of the movements we need to work on are going to be overhead position, getting the shoulder back, and also just getting the hips open. Alright, so if we start with the band at the shoulder, doubling it up is always a good idea. I feel if you can tolerate, it's just a little bit more compression and pressure here, but what it does is it supports you. So now I can just suspend myself here. Once I get here, alright, again I want to do this as a warm-up, so I'm going to just start moving and thinking first about the position of my shoulders during those farmer carries. I'm just going to start to screw my shoulders into the socket, squeeze my shoulder blades. The band and my lean forward with gravity is just going to pull the shoulder back into the socket. So I'm going to do 10 of those, 20 of those, moving progressively faster. I'm going to start getting into a good athletic position, make sure I'm braced in the midline. Now I'm going to go through presses because I'm going to be doing some clean and presses. Alright, and then I'm also going to go through the clean motion where I'm pulling between my hip, coming into the position like I'm pulling the kettlebell into the body. And then I can get hips and arm together, so I'm just working the exact pattern I'm going to do, but I just have my shoulder back in the socket. Alright, once I feel loosened up there, and you'll feel loose as you go faster, it just feels like the resistance of the band isn't as great. Alright, if you start getting a little numbness and tingling, just take it off. Alright, it's not anything to be overly concerned about, but you don't want to hang out and live there. Alright, other side, quickly. Alright, and you get better the more you practice at just getting in and out of this position. Same idea, get the shoulder organized, about 10. Alright, I'm going to go through the press, staying braced, not overextending, thumb back. Alright, and now I'm going through the clean motion. So when I'm coming up here, my shoulder is actually, it needs internal rotation. Alright, normally the shoulder wants to come forward and the shoulder blade wants to come off the rib cage. I'm trying to keep that tight, going up. I'm going right through into a press, I can go right into the clean and press. I can even turn it into a little snatch movement. The whole body is getting involved. Alright, I'm getting warmed up. Take that off, that's the shoulder. Now I'll use a lighter band for the hip, just because I'd still like to double this up. So again, I make a loop. I'm going to put my foot in, get right up in the groin, that's where your hip is. Alright, and then I can go through quickly this hip hinging, pop through, hip hinging. Now that's the femur bone or the thigh bone is being pulled back in the socket, going through the movement I'm going to do. Alright, I can also do it from the side here, just get a little lateral gapping. Alright, just do multi-directional hip moves quickly. Alright, but you want to make it have a purpose. So the best purpose, in this case, if we're doing mostly bilateral stance swing movements, is going to be hip hinge, drive into the band. The band gives you a little bit of resistance to get the glutes firing. Make sure that you're not overextending through the spine. Alright? And then we can do the other side. And you can, several ways to get in here. You just make a double hole. Get it into position. Alright, try and even, the transitions even become fast. So another thing I can work on, I love this position for the hip, because it kind of gets every plane, is now I'm in this flexion external rotation on the front here, and then I can just turn my body, and now I'm getting a slightly different directional pull. Alright, so I should be good and loose. Alright, now I can get into this same pop through the hip on this side, just making sure that's nice and loosened up. Alright, and then we take it off there. Always, once you get the band off, I'm going to retest my overhead. I'm going to retest the hip hinge, feeling like I can really reach back. Alright, I can keep a good position in the hip hinge, because that's what I'm going to need for a lot of the workout there. Alright, so that's the band work. So continuing in talking about the warm-up, now we got the soft tissue work, again, which is going to be a bit of a quicker process because we're doing it as a warm-up. So you can do this before the band work if necessary. It's really dependent on the person and where your biggest restrictions are. And it also depends on the workout and the dominance of what body part is involved. So using the roller here, which is typically done just to kind of massage out things for a while, before a workout what you want to do is create the motion in which you're going to be doing in the workout. So I want to get at this thoracic spine and just lock it down. I'm getting stable. Alright, so this is a good warm-up just for stability. Glutes are on, midline is stable. Now I can go through an overhead press. I can just roll out in the overhead position. I don't want to spend 2 minutes here. I want to be moving. Alright, so I can bridge up and down in this overhead position. Alright, go to the side, explore. Alright, the whole time I'm working on opening up this thoracic position so I can get a better overhead, I'm still working on stabilizing. So I'm not calming the body down, I'm actually getting it prepped. Alright, going through there. I love these bridges because each time it's that hip extension pop, so I'm going to need this during the swing, I'm going to need this during the clean, but I'm also training the overhead press that I'm going to need when I'm at the top of the press. Alright, so you can go through there. And then ball in the belly. Some belly work is always a good idea to, again, just get the hips working in isolation or separate from your lumbar spine or lower back. So I'm going to put this right in the gut. Now if I hang out here and I kind of fall asleep on the ball, this could be a very relaxing exercise. It's good as a cool downer before bed. But before a workout, I actually want to be propped up, get a little bit more extension, and then try to drive that hip up. Add the knee bend. Alright, so I'm getting faster. Alright, again, I'm adding this hip extension, which is going to be what I'm coming up to during the swing and clean motion. Adding 10 to 20 there. Quick switch to the other side. I'm also opening up this hip. Trying to get in there, allowing my breathing to initially relax and let the ball sink in. But then again, this is a warm-up, not a cool-down, so I want to breathe out with each rep as if I was going to be doing the swings and breathing out at the top of each rep. Alright, so I'm getting my glute firing, but I'm not allowing my lumbar spine to fire, so this is actually midline stabilization work, and just getting your pelvis in a good position, an organized position, to be able to come up and do your swing, and not overextend, do your clean, drive your heels down through the ground, stay in a good organized position. Alright, so just in the teaching of this, it maybe took a little bit longer, but if you get good and organized with this warm-up, you know exactly what to do. It should not take you more than 5, certainly no more than 10 minutes to get all that stuff in, and you're going to be in a much better position to get more out of your workout. See you next time.